Welcome. It's another edition of Hockey Unfiltered. Todd Lewis along with Justin Bourne. Ready to go again for another battle, Justin? Maybe it won't be a battle this week.
Yeah, we'll see. Sounds good.
All right. Follow us along through the week and send us your comments as well. We want to be interactive with you. At JT Bourne is Justin's Twitter account, and mine is at Todd Lewis Sports. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the Southeast Division. Everybody dumped on this division for so long as the South Least because there were so many bad teams that struggled to, have even a winning type record or anything close to a winning record. Now we've got a real battle going on for top spot in the division, and really a challenge up towards the top of the conference between the Washington Capitals and the Tampa Bay Lightning. As we record this, it's the Tampa Bay Lightning that are up on top. But I wonder who might go further in the playoffs and who you like for the division, Justin.
My knee-jerk reaction when you think of that is to say Washington. They've just been so good for a few years now, and they have, the one of the biggest stars in the game. And but when you really take a step back and look at the rosters, there's no reason to pick Washington over Tampa Bay. I mean, Dwayne Rolison he's one heck of a good goaltender, and frankly, I'd rather have him in the net over either of the young kids who are doing fine in Washington. But I enjoy Rolison. And then, Steven Stamkos right now is the best playing player in the NHL. Crosby's sitting out, so you got Stamkos as the best player in the league. So, when you have those, those tools on your side, and Hedman's getting better, and they're so deep up front, and I'm going to have to go with Tampa Bay on that one.
I might lean toward Washington just because they've had a little more experience in terms of building and growing to the successful level, getting into the playoffs. Yes, they had a real heartbreaking get bounced out last year by the Montreal Canadiens, but maybe it's also the change that's taken place in Washington this year because Bruce Boudreau has said, okay, we're not going to run and gun anymore and win games 7-5 or 8-6. We're going to try and play a much more consistent type hockey, be responsible defensively. You see Alex Ovechkin, whose point totals are way down. I mean, by the end of the year, he's still going to be a point-a-game guy, which is very nice for fantasy leagues. But his game has changed, and just about everybody else's game has changed. So maybe it's Washington that doesn't necessarily win the division, but maybe they have that longer postseason run this year.
Yeah, well, I saw someone on Twitter the other day called them the Washington Trapitals. I mean, they are not the same Capitals we're used to seeing. There's something about it that's, a little startling. But still, when you talk about experience, not this whole Tampa Bay team. They haven't all been through it, but they won a cup in 2006, with their two big cornerstones still being Lecavalier and St. Louis. So they have a couple guys who've been through the fire before, too. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're able to lead the team. And, Knuebel's a guy in Washington who can do it. But beyond him, I'm not sure if they have those kind of guys who can do it like they can.
And I think Vinny's getting stronger as this year goes on, too, with finally all his injuries behind him. He's just going to get better and better as they go deeper into the playoffs. But it's wonderful, the other story about Tampa Bay as well. They're still trying to find themselves attendance-wise. They've fallen off so badly after their Stanley Cup victory prior to the lockout. But this is a team that's had a complete turnaround after that disastrous ownership that they had. Jeff Vinnick has come in, and once again, the Tampa Bay Lightning are a professional operation instead of that gong show that was there before. Steve Yzerman was a brilliant hire. He's brought a level of professionalism and class to that whole organization, and it's really been a pleasure to watch that turnaround.
Yeah, it's been like a little trickle-down effect. You have a guy who's been through it like Stevie Y. I mean, he was one of the best of all time, and not just on the ice, off it. And, Detroit's such a well-run organization and so professional, and, that's sort of our sports, New York Yankees. When he goes to a new team and feels, I'm sure he felt like it was kind of a minor league operation there. And it's not because those people wanted to run a minor league operation. Sometimes you just don't know, until you've walked on, on marble floors, you don't realize that, the laminate's not as good. So I'm sure he went in and just looked at a few things and just like, whoa, what are you guys doing over there? Here's a better way. And it looks like not just with the personnel, but the whole organization is running a little more smooth since he's been there.
And Guy Boucher coming in as coach has been a terrific hire as well, really helping that team help that team along. Okay, let's shift out west and talk a little bit about that as well, because the playoff battle out west is going to be great and going down to the end of the wire too, as we're about the 2/3 point of the season now. And I still can't say that they've made believers out of me yet. But the Calgary Flames have come a lot farther than I ever expected them to. I can't believe that they've actually climbed back into contention for the playoffs. I figured that there'd be a fire sale that's already begun the way it has with a couple of teams in the East.
Yeah, and it's quite frankly annoying. It's such an unlikable team. It's the whole franchise right now is just so unlikable for me. So Ryan Lambert on Puck Daddy actually wrote in one of his columns, he wrote about how the West is tight and everyone is very close, 5 points between, whatever it is, 13th and 5th or something. But it's not because those teams are good this year. I feel like some of those teams are equally crappy, and I thought that was a pretty fair point. Calgary being one of them, and yes, they've been hot lately, but I definitely think at the end of the year, it's cool for them that they've climbed back into contention, but I can't see them finishing on the right side of the bubble.
Well, and I'm not sure that they will either, but here I'll tie the thread together with the Tampa Bay Lightning, because the acting general manager now of the Calgary Flames is Jay Feaster, who was the GM of the Tampa Bay Lightning when they won a Stanley Cup. And his personality is completely different from the Sutter mentality that ran from top to bottom in that organization. And it's done only good things for the Calgary Flames.
How about this? My dad was just here visiting, and obviously he knows the Sutters well. He played on the line with two of them. And he was saying that those two haven't talked in 2 years. The two Sutters, the GM and the coach of the Flames, had a working relationship, but, no communication beyond anything that needed to be said or done. So, no wonder the franchise is struggling to put it together when they can't get communication between your two most important people in the front office.
That's remarkable that you would even try to exist that long in such a fashion. All right, one more quick one before we go. Everybody's still talking about the Boston Bruins Montreal Canadiens match from a few days ago, and already circled on the calendar is their last and final meeting of the regular season on March the 8th. That one will take place in Montreal. Canadiens called up Ryan White for their game the next night against the New York Islanders, maybe a game too late. But I don't want to see it every night, but you know what? That was one of the best, if not the best, hockey games of the year.
That was spectacular. It really was. You love to see a score like that just because hockey for so long suffered to, provide us with any sort of goals, let alone anything interesting. So I still love to see those breakout games. And obviously, the best thing for me is the dislike between the two teams. I actually almost wrote about that, how much better it is when teams genuinely have that hate for each other. And not necessarily the people, and you don't want them to be injured, but you just hate them as opponents, and it sort of elevates your game to this new level, and that's the great thing about rivalries. It doesn't guarantee a good game, but it guarantees the players care, so I've really enjoyed that.
And you're right. There's an anticipation leading up to each game between those two teams. That's unlike any other two. It's terrific. Okay, we'll let you go tend to your cat that's trying to climb up your back in the background. We'll get ready to go again next week. And don't forget, we'll tease a little bit more about it and give you more details, but there's some big trade deadline stuff coming too as well. For Justin Bourne, our producer Dave Turner, I'm Todd Lewis. Thanks for watching this edition of Hockey Unfiltered.
Thanks, everyone.